Okay, so the start of this document reads, "Real-world discrimination is as unacceptable at our games as real-world violence. We will not tolerate discrimination or harassment at our events. Acceptable behaviour at our events. Our games include adult themes, verbal and physical conflict. It is perfectly acceptable to insult another character on the basis of an in-character attribute at any time during the events. It is not acceptable to insult another participant on the basis of an out-of-character attribute. This means that participants are not allowed to discriminate on the grounds of real-world gender, relationship status, race, ethnic origin, colour, nationality, national origin, disability, sexuality, transgender status, religion or age, or any similar distinction. In particular, please note that none of the following excuses are acceptable. I was only joking. I was in character. I was drunk. I'm his mate, and he doesn't mind." I would like to make a few points on this, but as a whole, I'm fine with it. I do, however, feel that this section about what is not a valid excuse, in the "I'm only joking, I was in character, I was drunk, he's my mate and he doesn't mind." If he is my mate and he doesn't mind, butt out. Just butt out the conversation. If it's got nothing to do with it, go away. I do, and I think, as does basically everybody else, agree that it's not acceptable to discriminate based on gender or sexual orientation or race or any of those things. But a lot of the defenders of this document, not all of them, but a decent number, have been using some incredibly sexist rhetoric in the defence of this document. For example, one of the early comments on my thread on my Facebook wall about this was, "I wonder what is so difficult / horrible / threatening about a policy like this. That is all the dude bros on various platforms getting their very manly boxers in a twist about it." Okay, that was discrimination on the basis of someone's gender. In fact, you went out of your way to put manly into it. And I've seen this sort of comment repeated on other threads. And other people putting up their Facebook statuses about it. Saying, I mean, the dude bros thing, I've come across a few times in the last day now. Stop it. I mean, have you read the document? Doesn't say you're not allowed to discriminate based on someone being female. And it certainly doesn't say you are allowed to discriminate if they've got a penis. It says none of that thing. What it says in that regard is you are not allowed to discriminate on the grounds of real world gender. Now, I'm sure you've noticed there is more than one gender. So stop doing that. Stop calling... I've seen a comment before with "checking your privilege, you white cis scum." Sadly, I don't think this document is actually aimed at you. It should be. Or you should at least consider yourself included in it. Stop doing that. Stop. Do you know what? If you're going to come out all guns blazing in defence of this document, by all means do it. But if you really want to be effective, perhaps you want to leave your raging sexism out of it. It continues. The rules apply to all games and events managed by us, so that we can promote equality and fairness for all involved. If you're unclear on whether something violates the rules, then err on the side of caution. We deliberately create settings which do not include themes of real-world discrimination. It is against the spirit of our games to play a character who is prejudiced against others for real-world characteristics, like gender, sexuality, or skin colour at our games. Like I say, on the whole, everyone is on side with this, despite many people's pleas that they're not. But no one that I've seen is really putting up a complaint against treating people fairly. They just aren't. But as I say, a lot of the people who are coming out in favour of this document are claiming they're not. And I think it's just to try and change the conversation more than anything. Anyway, I'll go on. Language. Odyssey and Empire are deliberately gender-neutral settings by design. There are no roles, character types, jobs or positions in these settings that are restricted by gender or are stereotyped as belonging to any particular gender. For example, soldiers, healers, generals, senators and empresses are all equally as likely to be women as they are men. We are not interested in exploring themes of real-world gender discrimination, and we want our games to be welcoming to players of all genders. To support this goal, we ask participants to be mindful of their use of language when addressing others. For example, addressing a crowd of Imperial citizens about to take to the battlefield as men, lads, or boys will make some players feel excluded and does not make sense in a universe where half of the warriors are not male. We appreciate that the use of gendered language is habitable, and everyone makes the odd mistake, but a concerted effort to use appropriate in-character language that fits the setting will improve the game for everyone. Okay, I think we could have a conversation about what gender you would expect an empress to be, but I think having that conversation would be pointless, in all honesty. Also, words can have different meaning in different places. I'm from Liverpool, and if I were to say, come on lads, let's have them, I'm not saying anything gendered at all, at all, whatsoever. I could say to a group of girls, come on lads, and I'm not meaning boys, I'm not meaning male. I do understand that people from elsewhere, and even people from some other parts of Liverpool, may mean that, may mean lads means men. But I think that my point with that is, I'll be mindful of other people won't associate lads just meaning a group of people. But you should also be mindful that in some places it does. For example, cunt. Cunt is a really quite a harsh word here. For example, people from Australia a lot of the time will use the word cunt in not the same way that we would say it.
Try your day! You can't! Coming again to celebrate invasion! Try your day! You can't! Denial is the only way!
And look at America. Bum is fanny. Where here, certainly when I was growing up, it was that was basically indistinguishable from a female reproductive area, the vagina. Fanny and vagina with the same thing.
I love wearing fanny packs.
And when it was said on The Simpsons, meaning bum, people here could find shocking. Wow, how, you know. But be mindful that what you consider offensive, someone else might not at all. And when you say your use of language is correct, you're not being very inclusive at all. Another word, bitch. That is a term for a female canine. Now, it might cause offence, so should I describe it as dog instead? But then I might be causing offence because I'm using the male. So I'm completely excluding the fact that there are female dogs who have a word. Am I being offensive for using the word, or am I being offensive for not using the word? It's difficult. Making strict rules about it is a... to be honest, as soon as people want to start regulating your word use, the alarm bells start ringing for me. I'm not a fan of that at all. Also, just as a quick point, when addressing a crowd of Imperial citizens who are about to take to the battlefield, perhaps instead of using men, lads, boys, we could say citizens, soldiers, warriors, that sort of thing. Well, why not for Empress? Why can't it be monarch, leader, ruler, head of state? It's pandering to rubbish is what this is, to be honest. And it's very obviously biased as well. Moving on. Acceptable behaviour online. Profound Decisions moderates an official online forum for Empire and a Facebook group for Odyssey. We ask everyone using these platforms to be courteous to each other, and that we require users to abide by the spirit of these rules and discrimination, in text as well as in person. Our official forum and Facebook group are strongly moderated, and posts that violated these rules will be deleted. If you are experiencing harassment or abuse online in relation with one of our games, then please contact us. Breaches of this policy online may lead to a ban from our games, regardless of whether it happens online or in the field. Yeah, that's fine. No problem from me on that. Though again, all of the people who are saying stuff like the dude bros with their mailboxes in a twist, or it's the cis scum that can't deal with equality, might just want to check yourself, as you are clearly in violation of that. But it is constantly amazing how you think it applies to other people, but not you. To use a quote, when I pulled someone up on it, I stopped calling them dude bros on Time In. We're in real life and I can use gendered language. I think dude bros is a better, more on the point expression than persons of male gender who think gender problems are an invention of an overly sensitive person. You're basically saying it's okay when you do it, it's just not when other people. Full of shit. Next we have sexual harassment. Socialising is an important part of live role-playing, but nobody attending an event should have to tolerate sexual harassment. We encourage any individuals who experience sexual harassment from another participant to report the incident to us at the earliest available opportunity, so that we can deal appropriately with the matter. Unwelcome actions such as the following are inappropriate and, depending on circumstances, may in and of themselves meet the definition of sexual harassment or contribute to a hostile game environment. Sexual pranks, or repeated sexual teasing, jokes or innuendos. Verbal abuse, touching or grabbing of a sexual nature. Repeatedly standing too close or brushing up against a person. Repeatedly asking a person to socialise out of character when the person has said no or has indicated he or she is not interested. A victim of sexual harassment can be a man or woman. The victim can be of the same sex as the harasser. The harasser can be any participant, player or member of crew. Many sexual harassment issues in live role-playing occur when participants use their character to justify what would be clearly inappropriate when not role-playing. Participants should take care to ensure that if their behaviour involves conversation or physical contact in a sexual or intimate manner, that they do not do so in a way that causes the recipient to feel out of character, uncomfortable, regardless of any in-character considerations. In particular, please note that although our games include themes of mind-influencing magic, drugs and addiction, human sacrifice, in-character racism and prejudice, prostitution, violence, robbery, torture and murder, they do not include non-consensual sex or sex with minors. It is not possible to know what real-life experiences other participants have suffered, so all participants must avoid IC references to either of these two subjects in play. On the whole, I think this is fine, though troubling that they felt the need to point out sex with children. I would have thought that would be quite obvious. I'm glad to see that they mentioned the victims of harassment can be male and female, and, you know, that was good. Something I have found odd across Larp as a whole, though, is that we worry about someone's real-life experiences with sexual harassment, and that's why you can't roleplay it. And I think that's understandable, but what I find strange is that we're fine with drug addiction, violence, murder, robbery. People may have experienced those things as well. So it's odd the way we prioritise that sexual harassment is worse than murder. So we can do murder left, right and centre, and we can talk about it. Don't talk about the other thing because you don't know what someone may have experienced. I find that very strange, but that's me. But yes, don't sexually harass people. That's fine. Not really a problem with this part of the article. So next we have a section called Our Behaviour. Profound Decisions is committed to creating an environment where there is mutual respect and equality of opportunity for all participants. We want our games to be inclusive, where everyone can take part and everyone is welcome, and we oppose all forms of unlawful and unfair discrimination. We will make all reasonable efforts and adjustments to ensure that our games are inclusive, promote equality of opportunity and encourage staff and players from all backgrounds to participate fully in a Profound Decisions event, respond promptly to harassment and equality issues, including those relating to race, gender, disability and sexual orientation, and recognise the complexities of the interrelations between them, treat all complaints seriously and respond appropriately. This sounds good, to be honest, until I put it in context with what comes next. So without any further delay, because there's been quite a bit so far, this is the bit that I find troubling. Complaints. Opposing discrimination and harassment is not causing trouble. It is helping to build a better event for everyone. It is not possible for Profound Decisions to create an environment that is free from discrimination or harassment by ourselves. It can only be accomplished if everyone who participates in the game works towards that goal. Challenging inappropriate behaviour by other participants is helpful, but not everyone is comfortable or confident to do that. We want all participants to be confident that they can bring complaints to us and that we will deal with them promptly, respectfully and appropriately. In general, we operate on a single warning policy. Players who commit some significant misdemeanours such as sexual harassment receive a written warning making it clear that any further complaints about them will result in a permanent exclusion from the event. The nature of complaints in Larp is that there is very little other than hearsay evidence. Giving the accused a single warning gives a reasonable balance, giving them a chance to avoid making a similar mistake in the future, avoiding the need to make a judgment beyond reasonable doubt of the veracity of either party. In cases where an incident is extremely serious, and where the facts are beyond all reasonable doubt, we issue an immediate ban. If a participant wishes to report an incident but wishes to remain anonymous, or does not otherwise want to make a formal complaint, then we adjust our complaints process to reflect their wishes. The issue is discussed in detail with the complainant, and we will investigate it as thoroughly as we are able to without compromising their anonymity. The incident is logged on the accused participant's database records. If there are independent complaints in the future against the same party, then we would use the history of previous incidents to determine the outcome of subsequent complaints. Right. This is horrific. To start with, if it's not possible, it is not possible for Profound Decisions to create an environment that is free from discrimination or harassment by ourselves. I'm not entirely sure why it's not. But okay. It can only be accomplished with participants. It can only be accomplished if everyone who participates in the game works towards that goal. I can understand what you're trying to say, but I find it odd that you don't feel, as a company, you can do it. We want all participants to be confident that they can bring complaints to us and that we will deal with them promptly, respectfully and appropriately. Okay, I'm now going to question how appropriate you think you are. In general, we operate a single warning policy. Players who commit some significant misdemeanours such as sexual harassment receive a written warning making it clear that further complaints will result in exclusion from the event. Okay, but how are you determining if it's true, for a start? Is the person who's had the complaint made against them able to defend themselves, offer any defence to this? And as you admit, it may be hard for you to have more than hearsay evidence. Then surely it should be hard for you to punish someone. But moreover, when it goes to your if something serious has happened and you've got evidence that's beyond any reasonable doubt, you will issue an immediate ban. No, call the police. If someone has been sexually assaulted, don't kick them off your site and give them a head start. Call the police. Corner off the area it happened so the crime scene isn't contaminated. Stop play. But what the hell are you doing? Call the fucking police. Also, when going back a bit, when you say because a lot of evidence might just be hearsay evidence, or as in you mightn't have any evidence at all, you give the accused a single warning which gives a reasonable balance to not having evidence. No, it doesn't. Giving them a chance to avoid a similar mistake. They mightn't have done anything. They simply mightn't have done anything. This isn't, and I'm sure people will try to make out that I'm saying don't believe the alleged victim. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is don't presume guilt. Not presuming someone guilty is not the same as presuming they are innocent. Wanting evidence is not the same as not believing someone. You want to regulate people's language. You want to be able to punish people without any evidence. And you also, if you have evidence and it's beyond any doubt whatsoever that a sexual assault has been committed on your event, you want to get the person off site. No, fucking detain them. This video is already the longest YouTube video I've made, so I'll end it here. I'll probably end up making a follow-up to this. But I do want to say this before I end this video. I've seen people say false allegations don't happen. Or they've said things like they're so rare they don't need to be thought about. I don't attend these events anymore because I was threatened with someone making one. It's a player who still goes to PD events regularly, I think, and I feel it's just too risky to do it, to go. And I think it was basically to screw my character over rather than me. But essentially, don't come anymore or this will happen. And the thing is that it's kind of logical for them to do that because of guidelines like this. If someone makes an accusation against me, then they basically spell out that they will believe them, and that's it. I'm buggered. No evidence was needed. I don't know if I would be able to defend myself. And I could get a warning. I could then get banned. Presumably I'll get spoken about. And it'd go around. So, do you know what? I'm just going to beat her to it. I'm a guy who has been threatened with a false allegation of this sort. It happened about a year and a bit ago. And that's that. I'm buggered. So I don't know if it was ever actually reported to PD. I presume it wasn't actually, because I've not heard anything. So I presume it wasn't. But I know that I basically can't go. And I'm fully aware that the Larp community would probably back this person up 100%. So I have been asked. I spilled the beans a bit on that on my Facebook the other day, and I have been asked why I don't just tell PD. And the problem is the very same thing. I don't have evidence to say to prove it. I just don't. So it would be off of, I think it would be wrong of PD to just believe me, is the thing. Just as it would be wrong to just believe her. But the problem is they've set up a system where they will believe her, and I'm fucked, regardless of the truth and regardless of evidence. So, just as a warning, I suppose, as far as I'm aware, this player still goes, still attends very regularly, knows that they'll be backed up, knows that they will be believed, and that's that. So, for people who are saying, oh, it's incredibly unlikely this would ever happen, fair enough, you don't have to believe me, but it could happen. There is someone who attends those events who will happily do it. And because of the lack of evidence, I've seen people saying, well, it's never happened at an event. You don't know, because no one needs evidence. You don't know if it's happened or not. But it's, at least for me, it has been threatened to happen. And I bloody love those events. I think they are some of the best LARPing events that there are. I think they're fantastic. But sadly, I'm not going to experience them. Join me in part 2, I suppose.